record. Okay, so to not go over some of the stuff, I'm just going to like lightly touch on some of the stuff we talked about last week, but it's August 17th and this is our Monday night call, and I'm really excited to have Darin Olien on this call. So those of you that are new coaches, I know we've got a lot of new coaches that are joining us this week. My name is Seay Stanford. I'm a 15-star diamond. I'm going through and I'm muting people. Sorry, so I look like I'm multitasking. Kelly Cox, if you can mute your line. The whole reason I started Beachbody coaching was because of Shakeology and my passion for it. I literally, in my mind, thought it was a saturated market. I thought everybody understood it. I thought everybody just appreciated how awesome it was. I thought everybody drank it. And I was a customer for a year. And one day I posted one of my Shakeology recipes, and I got like 30 people asking what it was. And to me, that was my aha moment. I'm like, how do all these people not have any idea how amazing this product is? And I knew that there was a business opportunity around it, but really the fitness wasn't my passion. It was really wanting to inspire people and kind of start at that grassroots level to help people understand the importance of not putting chemicals in your body and what all these superfoods can do. And, you know, those of you that don't know me, I come from a pharmaceutical background, and seeing a lot of diabetics taking all these medications and on dialysis and just going through amputations, it was such a passion for me to want to be on the front end of prevention instead of being on the back end of chasing symptoms. And so to me, Shakeology was just the easiest insurance for people to put in their body to really get them the best health possible in the easiest delivery system. So Darin Olien, the creator, the co-creator, of course, Isabel Deichler as well, is the mastermind brilliance behind the products. And I always joke with Carl Deichler that if I ever in the top 10, I'd much rather go on a trip with Darin and see how rough it is with all the stuff he does to find these superfoods than go on the top 10 comfy trip, just because I do find it so fascinating. And I'm going to give Darin the platform tonight to talk a little bit about his vision behind Shakeology, answer some of the questions we have. And he already knows, for the most part, you all being part of my team, you guys have an elevated product knowledge behind Shakeology. So some of these questions that we've asked him, from a legal standpoint, it's kind of a slippery slope. So he may have to kind of dance around the answer, but he is going to answer it to the best of his ability from a legal standpoint. And some of it, you guys just may have to connect the dots and leave it at that. But Darin, thank you so much for being on the call. And I had shared last week, oh, somebody's not on mute. His book, SUPERLIFE, I tell you, it is the easiest way, even if somebody isn't ready to buy Shakeology or buy a challenge pack, suggest they get this book off of Amazon. Number one, it doesn't look like you're trying to sell them something where you get a gain. And once they get into like chapters 2 and 3, they're going to realize the importance of doing and drinking Shakeology, the importance of their health and what they choose to buy as far as food, and also the ultimate reset. So it really sets the stage for the philosophy and vision that we all have behind our nutritional products as well. And I have found it really keeps people drinking Shakeology longer and keeps the retention without you having to sit there and preach it to them. The book is phenomenal. It's written with a lot of really good, credible science, but in a way that a lot of people can understand and it's not over their head. So it's really, really well done. It's $20 on Amazon. You can also offer it as an incentive to your challengers. If you run contests in your challenge group, definitely use that as an incentive for your challengers. I'm just going to go through here and mute anybody else who's not muted that I have control over. Mute. And if you guys aren't muted, if you could just mute your phones. And I'm going to turn it over to Darin. So Darin, if you could, I guess let's start off with, if you could share what inspired you first to write your book. Like, what was the vision for you wanting to write your book?
Well, yeah, and thank you for all of that, the intro and everything. The idea for the book was definitely not written to impress colleagues. It was written for people to walk away with the knowledge and a greater joystick for their own health. And you know, the thing that I wanted to get away from on the book, or the idea that I wanted, was not to make it complicated, because it's not complicated. If you want to dive into the science of it and be forever curious about how the body works, that's great. But the reality is we're never going to know the interactions between one plant that has 3,000 chemicals and an apple interacting with the body. You're never going to really understand that. You're going to have ideas and concepts, and it's going to be fun. And that's why I do what I do. But the reality is that these kind of five forces are the foundation for how the body operates as a whole. And the most important thing is, I wanted to get out from under all of this reducing and reductionism that we've gotten so used to, and you know, working in the pharmaceutical industry is the primary theos of the allopathic world is the I'm getting some feedback there,
Yeah,
but
you guys can make sure your lines are muted.
the allopathic world is ultimately the perfect reductionism that, hey, if you have a bad heart, let's work on the heart. Let's not even look at the reality that your heart is reacting to a set of inputs or multiple inputs. So the book was based on a idea that this is all really simple, and when you support one, you support it all. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're doing one thing and it has 100 side effects, that's probably not a good route for optimal health, and will lead you down a road that you can never get out of that way. So I wanted to, is as simple as that book is, it's kind of weirdly appropriate because it is going back to the roots of all of our medicine for as long as we've been human, before the 1900s, essentially. So the 1900s, we adopted these weird principles that we are in fear and we're catching colds and all that stuff. Well, that philosophy is great when you're selling pharmaceutical drugs, but it's not when you're promoting health. So I wanted to promote health, and that's what the book is primarily about. It's going back to what it is that we truly already intuitively know, and then sparking that intuition so that we can be a greater advocate for our own lives again.
So what I would like for you to take a step further from the book is obviously from a product standpoint, Darin, is share a little bit about back in the beginning. I know you did this at Summit, but kind of the original vision behind Shakeology, because for so many new coaches on this call, you know, all shakes are created equal, at least in the minds of their customers.
Yeah.
And I know the difference, but I would love for them to hear from you as the creator and what you put into it, the main difference with Shakeology compared to everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It started in the very beginning when you know, given this baton to hold as this idea that Carl and Isabel had, I said, okay, well, what do we require? What do we require as human beings in this day and age? It doesn't really matter what we used to. Of course, it matters what we used to do, and it also matters where we're at right now and what we're missing. And it's very clear in all of the research that we knew that we were nutrient, macronutrient off, and micronutrient deprived. We knew that, you know, in the early 1900s, 1936 to be exact. It was the first testing of the soil, and they realized, oh, everyone's deficient in micronutrients, vitamins and minerals and things. And so progressing from there, it never really changed. And that idea that the satiation of volume was some sort of way that, hey, we produce more food, but the food itself is lacking all the way back to the start of the Industrial Revolution. So I just asked that question to myself. And of course, all of that knowledge of where we came from at the same time. So we're coming in lack. right? We don't have the same soils. We don't have the same water. We don't have the same foods from those things. So that's a big reason we're lacking all of these nutrients, even if you're eating well, right? That's number one. Number two is we're getting bombarded by things that we've never had before. We're getting bombarded by fluoride and chlorine in our water. We're getting bombarded by 70,000 new toxins that are being created by man, being emitted in our atmosphere every year that are going untested. We're getting bombarded by this science experiment of genetically modified organisms in our food. We're getting bombarded by even this computer that I'm in front of, these electromagnetic fields that we've never had throughout obviously our history. What does that equal? It equals stress. What does stress equal? Cortisol. What does all that equal? That equals the more need for nutrient dense food. So you have food that doesn't have enough, and you have the need for it that's even greater. That's a prescription for what? People dying and having chronic disease. So the writing for me was very clear as to the bell that went off was, wow, this is a hell of an opportunity for a guy like me, because guess what? In my back pocket, I have the experience of traveling around the world to some of the zones that have some of the greatest food and epidemiologic food that have been used and proven to support health and vitality, that I'm sitting on that knowledge. I'm sitting on the experience of being with those people and knowing those foods. Oh my God, this is a hell of an opportunity. If Carl's not going to give me restriction, and he actually said, don't worry about the price, let me worry about the cost, and you just do it right. Holy cow. That was, I mean, that's a deal of a lifetime for someone like me. And I don't have to worry about the business side of it. Come on. So that was the start. That was why we have 50, 60 superfoods from around the world. That's why it's so complicated as a formula. That's why it's massively different than a damn protein shake that's just dealing on a macro level, that your health is not created on a macro level. Your health is not stripping your body of carbs and not eating carbs and eating a bunch of protein. I guess what? That line of thinking for health is never going to work. And you may get a few pounds here and there, but the undercut that's having on your health is extraordinary. And so Shakeology is providing that like you said, that delivery system for some of the greatest nutrient dense foods in the world. And why is that important? Because they're delivering and have all the cofactors and micronutrition that are in the inherent size and molecules and delivery systems within them that are made for a biological system. That's as us. So there's a natural synergy and symphony that we have with the plants. And why the hell would I step in the middle of that and try to recreate that? I am not God. I am not the master of the universe. I see what the universe has. I see how it works. I listen to the animals and the people and see how it flows in nature, and therefore has no side effect when I listen to that and act accordingly. So for me with Shakeology, it may sound weird to have powders in a bag, but understand that the careful growing of one of these superfoods, the careful care of how it's dried essentially is creating the suspension of the nutrition, right? So you're suspending it so it doesn't oxidize, it doesn't keep breaking down as nature does. But when you eliminate water, you eliminate that medium that continues that activation. So essentially every single ingredient has its own story, that how it's grown, how it's harvested, how it's dried, how it's pulverized, how it's tested, what it's tested for, what it has in it, what it shouldn't have in it. And then it travels back to the United States, and then we test it all again, and then we blend it appropriately. And then Shakeology becomes the symphony of everything coming together is greater than all of the individual parts. And that's where the mastery of Shakeology and really just coming through me and and formulating itself that way was really how it happened. And anyway, that's the tangent, but that's a pretty clear understanding of how it really started for me.
I remember a few years ago I had a question from somebody, and the explanation I got from one of the superfoods. I don't remember which one it was, Darin, but it was like literally a 5-degree variance between, I think it was goji berries or one of them. It doesn't really matter, but like literally 5 degrees between. If it wasn't, if it was burned and dried too much, it was going to lose all of the enzymes that make it healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it wasn't done enough, it would rot in the bag. And so, I want to stress that point, because we actually delayed the launch of the tropical vegan Shakeology because they had to get one of the 70 superfoods just right within that 5-degree variance. And I really, I want to stress to you guys, the more you understand this product and what goes into it, like when you think people complain over $4 a day, it blows my mind, because it's such an amazing product. I think about the dream team of the 80s or whatever year it was when they had like the best players in the world in the Olympics. And that's why I look at Shakeology. It's like the best of everything put on this earth by God, that Darin's put all in one bag and made it so super easy for us. And we don't even have to understand it. We just got to get people to drink it, and they'll feel
easy.
the difference. They'll feel the difference. All right, I'm going to move on to my next question. What is the difference? So a lot of these shakes on the market, they talk about that they have extracts, and with Shakeology, we are the whole foods. What's really the difference for us to be able to verbalize to people the difference between extracts and whole foods?
Well, that's a massive question, because it all depends on what it is and what kind of extraction process they're using. Like, for everyone to understand the difference between extracts, if you take a green tea leaf, right? Just take a whole one and you throw it in a glass of water. There's a natural extraction process, mostly insoluble vitamins and all the antioxidants and some of the constituents will be pulled into the water and diffuse from the plant, and that's a natural extraction process, leaving behind part of the leaf. And so some ingredients, it's very appropriate to consume them that way. However, the contention I made was, listen, we're not, it depends on how you look at supplements. Extracts, there can be a great use of them. Like, you can extract curcumin from turmeric and use that more specifically on inflammation and target it a little more. But you also don't get the whole benefits of turmeric, which is endless, literally endless. So our contention was, listen, why do I want to extract all of these things that I think are good, and I don't even know all of these other thousands of interactions that are going on in the plant? So again, I go back to the thing, I'm not going to be God here and decide what extract, what one piece of that plant or a few pieces of that plant is more important than the other. Why don't I just leave it as it is, so that it can do what it can do on the level at which it's been used for those thousands of years? So essentially, most of the ingredients that we use in its whole food form. And there's, on occasion, there will be, we'll come up against something where we're like, hey, should we use this as an extract? And then it's an assessment. Now, the whole other side of extracts, if you're not super clear about quality and what extracts they're using, are they using alcohol? Are they using there's a list of really, really nasty chemicals that they can kind of strip the plant, um, and the industry uses it a lot. There's some I forget the name of it. It's a there's one um, extract that and chemical that is so carcinogenic. It's astonishing to me that they even use this stuff. So we wanted to stay away from that kind of thing. But in the whole food form, you're not saying the apple's pectin is greater than the whole apple, right? So there's a reason why they said the apple a day keeps the doctor away. They never said the apple's pectin, the fiber in the apple, was going to keep the doctor away. No, that's not what was intended to be. So again, we're stepping out of the way. We're letting nature be the way it is. We're, to the best of our ability, leaving the whole plant alone, care for it. And so that healing potential added up over time is much greater than the gamble of an extract that we're deciding on what constituent we think is important. So that's the big kind of distinction there. It's essentially very getting close to that pharmaceutical side of things, whereas obviously I will lean towards a plant over a drug anytime. But that's kind of what that's really the distinctions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had to go unmute
Oh
someone.
yeah.
No, it's kind of like one of the things my mom says. It's kind of you're throwing the net wider by using whole foods as opposed to slicing what you think is important.
And exactly, and you also you don't run in the danger of creating a toxic load on a massive big population of people. You know, you're using it as food, and this is the way it's been consumed, and you're not running into that kind of herbal drug kind of therapy, which is could create more problems for people.
Right. So I'm going to move to the next question. That was Amy Duffield's question. That was a great question, Amy. Can you expand on the whey protein isolate in the regular Shakeology?
Yeah. You know, we chose whey protein isolate for a few reasons. We don't use the incredible harsh chemical extraction process, which is great. And the whey protein isolate has less of the lactase or lactose in it, therefore allowing for people who have you know, some people can have intolerances, and this is a lot better choice for them, because it doesn't have that same amount, because it's a higher percentage of without having that fat in it. The other side of the WPI, the whey protein isolate, is because of that highest grade of whey protein isolate we use, it has less of the fat, and fat sometimes is a harbor of toxins and chemicals. So just as a natural part of being biological, because even in our bodies we take in toxins, and if we take it in from anything, the best thing for a body to do is push it into fat to get it away from the organs. So we wanted to stay away from that. And listen, we're always improving. We're always testing these things, and this one's a big one for us. And you know, the thing I say about the whey, if people don't, you know, because some people can't really handle the whey, and that's, you know, another reason to go vegan, and push them in that direction. So if they have a problem with vegan for any reason, then, you know, we have the choices of vegan as well.
Yeah, that's usually the one I always start with is the vegan, because it's the purest. For those of you that don't know, it's definitely the ultimate brand is the purest of the Shakeology choices. Okay, this one's a pretty quick in and out question. This one's from Allison K. Do they plan to add any new ingredients after removing the ones that they just last month, the ones they took out? And then secondary question, how come they don't have hemp seed in Shakeology?
Great questions. Yeah, the great thing about Shakeology and our teams and the orders that we have we have followed and set up from the beginning is that we never go backwards. So if we run into a supply issue, and we do on a constant basis, it can be as much as we've expanded so fast that some of these exotic ingredients, we can't keep up. They can't keep up to our supply demand. And this can be common, and so we have to be very proactive. And so when we have to, for many different reasons, take out an ingredient, the first thing what we'll do is, if it's a reactive thing that's a little more time sensitive, then we will always, like, say it's an adaptogen, right? Then we will always increase all the other adaptogens to counter the benefits that are having. Or it could be bumping up the antioxidant profile and the essential fatty acids for the ingredients. So it's a the R&D gives Isabel and I a call right away, and and like, what are the things that we can do to make the formula as strong. And then the cool thing is, we have a list, and I put this list together years ago, of my wish list of potential new ingredients. And this is something that's very exciting. It takes a long time to qualify an ingredient, to audit facilities in other countries, to test everything, and to test it within formulas. So every new ingredient goes through a lot of tests, and understand that if we find a new ingredient, you're coming into a massive formulation that has a massive volume. So we really have to do our work when we're introducing new ingredients. But rest assured, we are definitely always introducing new superfoods when we have the chance. And we have some that we're looking at right now and evaluating, and there'll be some new action coming out here shortly.
That's one of those ones you guys will have to connect the dots there.
Yeah. Yeah. I will get skewered if I give that information.
We can't be privy to what's on Darin's wish list. Okay, so that actually is a great segue into the next question, and it's kind of a series of questions again, and I'll throw all three out there, and you can explain it as you like. But this has to do with ingredient quality. But kind of, what's the vision behind the ethics, which you've touched on a little bit already. What are the considerations of the countries that when you're shopping for a product, and do they test the ingredients that come from China or elsewhere for heavy metals?
Oh yeah. Well, this is, and it's funny because tomorrow I shoot a bunch of podcasts, and we're going to be getting out many in-depth, a lot of in-depth information on this stuff, and it's going to be a monthly podcast. And one of the first ones is going to be the quality assurance, and it's something that I've wanted to get out for a very long time, and it's talking about this very thing. And there's many things you said in that question, but the first kind of step to evaluation is, you may find an ingredient. You might find someone that's producing it, and you ask for a sample, and that sample comes in, and that's where the first, aside from them sending all the proper paperwork, right? So they have to be in business and have to have a facility that at least is able to produce. And then we'll start testing the incoming new ingredient. We'll test it for all the normal things and microbiological activity, heavy metals, shelf stability, active compounds that are in it. And then if all of that stuff kind of looks okay and looks promising, then we'll start going, okay, how does this work inside the formula? Right? So we'll start playing with the formulation, because all of these things have interactions, right? So then that's the next phase, and see how much can be handled within the formula. And some are governed by how much you can actually put in that formula. And then it goes to, okay, if everything's looking good, then it's either I've already been there, or it's a new trip we need to take, and we need to look in the eyes of the farmers. We need to meet the manufacturing facility. We need to do this first kind of high level assessment. And then pending all that, we'll set up an audit, and we literally go in and verify and test and look at all the quality assurance procedures. And this is massive. And I just have to emphasize, most companies will not ever do this stuff. Okay. So this is thousands of hours. This is hundreds of thousands of miles. This is millions and millions of dollars that goes into this part of it. So consider, like, yeah, okay, Darin's running around the planet finding stuff, but you have now teams of people that are highly qualified, research and development, quality assurance, that go in to make sure these facilities are up to the standards of the U.S. food grade facility. And if they don't pass those things, I don't care what the exotic ingredient, it's not getting in the shake. So, this takes some time, and we've had to handhold a lot of people, and some of the really powerful ingredients and ones we really saw were necessary, we'll really start to push that on. But that goes into a lot of the things that have to happen. But no ingredient gets by without 3-4 different tests that happen, from microbiological to heavy metals to the shelf stability, to all of this stuff multiple times in the country, when it's here, when it's in the final formula. So it's, this ingredient quality is a massive conversation, and one I'm certainly really proud of, because this isn't happening in the industry, and which is really scary, because it's the difference between, I'm not going to name names of some of the kind of the whoever the big chains that sell supplements, they don't have a clue what's actually in their ingredients. They don't know what the damaging compounds are, and they don't know what the active compounds are, and they have no relationship to where they're from or how they're grown or who's growing them or any of that. So that's something that Beachbody's doing and we're doing, and it's really separates us from anywhere else. Unfortunately, you can't get that by turning over the bag label and saying, "Oh yeah, this product has spirulina too." Like, okay, cool. It's $3 as opposed to this one that's more, and it's like you can't compare it that way, because people aren't doing that kind of due diligence and quality assurance.
No, and Darin makes a really good point here. You can't turn the back of the bag over and get that. I mean, by a show of hands, like, how many of you are like floored at the kind of diligence that goes into this product to make it and deliver it right to your front door, so like, for you guys, for our customers, so effortlessly.
Yeah.
And it's our jobs as coaches to be the story behind what our customers need, why they need it, and why our product beats every freaking product out there on the market. It's because other companies design their shakes to have a huge profit margin, and they're cheap. And they're designed to be cheap with cheap ingredients so that there's a bigger profit margin. Shakeology is not designed to be the cheapest on the market. And
Right.
I remember Carl saying at one point, like, there really isn't even that much of a profit margin with Shakeology because of everything they have to put into it in all these different countries and so on. So again, just to stress Darin's point, no one's going to turn the back of the bag over and realize all of this. It's our jobs as coaches to elevate our product knowledge and teach that to people from a grassroots level on why they need this product to better their health. Okay. I'm going to move. This is kind of, I guess, more of a yes or no question. Is there fermented fruit in the strawberry?
No.
Okay. That was quick.
That was easy.
Okay. So one of the things you mentioned, Darin, was when adding new superfoods into the formulation, that some things can't be mixed with other things. This question is, why should Shakeology not be mixed with the Renew Recover formula in the performance line? Why are the extra nutrients counterproductive in this case?
Remind me, because I didn't formulate recovery. What's in it? Do you know?
Do
It's got the slow, medium, and fast release protein.
Oh, yeah.
And
Got it.
yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. Um, it's not that it can't be mixed. It's just it kind of defeats it. It defeats the recoveries formulation, and it interrupts Shakeology's formulation. So it's not that it's bad or it can't, but if you're taking recovery for recovery, then take it for that. For me, I recover with Shakeology. That's what I do anyway. But um, it's if you replace recovery, from my point of view, this is not Beachbody's point of view, but my point of view, if you put recovery with Shakeology, there's way too much protein. I mean, you can't assimilate that much. It's not required, and if anything, you'll put a strain on your renal system, and acidify your body a little too much. So over time, that's just not a good idea. So, leave recovery alone, leave Shakeology alone, except if it's, has your, whatever fruits and all that stuff and boosts and stuff. But, way too much protein you don't need that much. I don't care if you're a professional bodybuilder, you just don't need that much.
Great answer. Okay. The stevia, the stevia. So a lot of you that are newer coaches, stevia is literally, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a stevia plant, right? But can you share a little bit about, for, a lot of people think, number one, it's an artificial sweetener, which that one's pretty easy to address. But can you, if we have to explain a little deeper what the sugar quality and the process is when it comes to the stevia in Shakeology?
Yeah, I mean, the stevia has been a great, obviously sweetener that we've had over time, and the biggest drawback of stevia is its ability to sweeten without creating um, uh, the side effect taste, and so it kind of has its limitation um, with all formulation. So it's always the quest of finding the greatest stevia as possible, and there's been some great work um, with how to process it that minimizes and does some nice botanical splicing and strain optimizing that lowers the kind of uh, side effect of the taste. So, it's an extracted stevia because the full stevia is just a green leaf that, if you take that green leaf, the side effect of that would be an aftertaste that you and I wouldn't want to consume. So this is a purified water extract. So back to that first question or that question of extracts. In some cases, especially in this case, using an extract in terms of stevia is a really good idea. So alcohol and water are extremely safe in extracting, and in this process, most stevias on the market use some extreme chemical processing, and that's how they're able to kind of wipe out that aftertaste. And that's not something we do. We just use a very high quality stevia with water and alcohol extraction, and that's kind of, in a nutshell, it's all about the quality first. When you have a high quality strain of any plant, your ability to use it is just exponentially greater. When you don't have a high quality plant and you use chemicals, you're able to, isolate and concentrate a lot differently and a lot more, and can get a little tricky in the body.
Awesome. Who here feels like they're in science class? It's like biology with a really handsome professor. Okay. Let's see. We had questions on the boost, but we're not going to address those because Darin did a really, really good job on the National Wake Up Call today, talking about the boosts and where they fit in with Shakeology and in people's lives. So if you guys missed it, definitely go back and catch the recording of his call. The last thing we've got on here, and this one I know is kind of a slippery slope, but celiac disease and Shakeology. I'll go ahead and let you take it, and then I'll add my 2 cents in afterwards.
Yeah, well, you know, this is an interesting one because there is, you know, if I had a handful of every person that was okay drinking Shakeology with celiac, and then there's some people that can't. Celiac is, you know, a damaged digestive system, and essentially the small intestine and the villi and the inflammation and all of that stuff, you know, that largely is determined by it's less about Shakeology and largely determined on what they're doing the other 23 and a half hours a day and what they're consuming. So you know, some of the grains, rye, wheat, barley, and not processed the right way will and could continue to cause the inflammatory response, and i.e. the autoimmune problem. If you don't address the thing that got you there and reconstruct your gut, it's really kind of challenging because it limits so much of your food choices anyway. Now, when you throw in something like Shakeology with a lot of different food and you have a compromised digestive system, it's tricky because there's a lot that could react. But it's reacting to something that's already off. So I could never say it's okay for everybody. I can just say that I've had many people say it's great for them. But my health point of view is you have to address the thing that caused the disturbance. This is not something that you're born to have. It's something that's created. So you have to uncreate and repair that damage, and then there's a whole different set of rules once that's happened. So that's kind of what I'll say about that.
So so one of the ways I position it with customers is I really stress the importance, and this isn't with celiac, but this is like with any of these digestive disorders. And my mom's on the call, I have to credit her because she really got me to go in this direction. But guys, everything in our body starts in the gut. And the better gut health people have, the healthier, the better they're going to absorb Shakeology and other whole foods, the better it's basically the central system to everything we put in our body. And one of the great things that Shakeology has are these amazing digestive enzymes that really prime the gut to start absorbing these whole foods and these real foods. I had a GI doctor call me out and want to know what kind of probiotics they used in Shakeology. And I can't pronounce it, Darin probably can. But when I had asked, and I came back and told him it was the Bacillus, whatever, you could probably pronounce it. He said, you know what? This is coming from a GI doctor. He said, hats off to you and your company, because that is the only probiotic that's naturally encapsulated, that's not been synthetically made to bypass the stomach acid and actually get to the intestine to do what probiotics are supposed to do. And you think about all these people that are going out and buying yogurts and buying all these things with probiotics, and they're not even really getting to the heart of the problem where the gut is. And he says, you know what? That probiotic is the most expensive probiotic. And that's the one that, of course, Darin and Isabel chose to put in Shakeology. And I'm really proud of that, because when I had a physician kind of call me out on an ingredient, and he came back and was like, thumbs up, that's impressive, and this is why. When people have digestive disorders, I have a lot of confidence, and even if they have to start really small and work their way up, that, as Darin says, they're a better chance of undoing the problem better than taking more pills that kill the flora in the gut and make it worse.
Exactly.
That's kind of my 2 cents on it with anything that is, IBS and all of these digestive disorders that people have.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, you guys just did it right with Shakeology.
Well, this is to make this point, this is one of those ideas that Shakeology isn't stagnant, because in the beginning, I put probiotics in there, and these probiotics weren't available. They didn't exist. And so I put them in there just in the off chance that a few would get through. So I said, yeah, there's no harm, no foul. So the original formulation in 2008, when it came out, didn't have the lactobacillus sporogens in there. So this was, again, as things evolved and as we became aware of this amazing probiotic that was stable within this type of formula on top of it, we then changed the formula. And the reality is that essentially the customers don't even know that. There's a lot of things that we're always improving that are making the product better that we really can't even market. And so, and now we can, but it's always had probiotics in it. But now we can actually say, well, yeah, these ultimately get through it, but we're always upgrading. And I just wanted to point that out because that's always what we're doing, and what Carl is willing to do with the profit and drive it back into improving the formula always is incredible.
Yeah. So this last question, I'm not sure if I understand because I've not read it myself, but why does a quarter of a scoop of Shakeology equal 1 vegetable / balanced liquid? But on the Shakeology page in the Beachbody book, it says 1 scoop equals 2 protein and 1 fruit.
Oh my God. I wouldn't even know how to,
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't even know how to, cause at the end of the day, I don't even worry. This is coming from a guy. I've never counted calories. I've never done any of that stuff, because it's just getting, listen, we're giving you, super fruits, phytonutrient rich greens blends. We're giving you, some the greatest medicinal plants, like all of these things. And depending on who you ask, that's a serving, this is a serving, it doesn't matter.
I personally, yeah, I definitely agree. I think, we're kind of like losing the bigger vision of the bigger problem, and it doesn't come down to scoops and measurements and things like that. I totally agree. So Darin, thank you so much, first of all, for just being on board with our company, so that, I think I couldn't imagine working for any of these other companies and having to stand behind a product that has so many holes in it. And I'm very, very proud of the integrity and the work and the vision that Beachbody, Darin, and Isabel have behind, and the whole research and development team. I mean, guys, we have the #1 shake on the market, hands down. I can talk about it with confidence, with passion. Is it perfect in every single way? No, but I guarantee it's more damn perfect than what these people have to work with, even on an easy day if they lived in Whole Foods. It truly makes everything so much easier. And the integrity and the work that's gone behind it truly makes it the best shake on the market. You think of a lot of folks that even are juicers, and the time it takes to juice and the cleanup and all of that. I mean, that really, truly Shakeology fits everybody's lifestyle, whether they're not that healthy or they're really healthy. And so, Darin, thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for being on our call tonight and explaining things in the way that you have, and continuing to put that passion into the #1 shake on the market.
You're so very welcome. Sorry about last week, but I made it this one.
Well, thank you very much. You guys have a great night. If you've got any questions at all, you can post them in our team page. And this call was recorded because I know you'll probably want to watch it again because that was a lot of amazing information. Darin, have a great night. You've had like double calls today. You're probably like ready to relax.
And a lot in between, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.